Hi guys, this is Dharam Singh, and we have Britten Warner today to talk about his lesson learned. And I will give you a little introduction about him, and he'll actually talk about himself, and then he will walk you through the journey he has taken for achieving his PGMP, and hopefully something you pick up from his presentation. And if you have any question clarification during the presentation from him or from me, feel free to ask your questions during the journey, and and we'll talk about that. And in case you need, yeah, so let's get started. And probably you know my name by this time. My name is Dharam Singh, and I have been training PGMPs, PFMPs for some time now. It is almost actually 10 years when I start teaching, and I have now contributed to 237 PGMP. So, Brett, you are my 237th PGMP. Uh, Good. I'm getting closer to 250 very soon, and some of the people in the call, or they are actually preparing for PGMP. We will see them very soon. Hopefully, some of the other people will also come and do presentation like you. So it's all about you gain something and giving back to the community. And so whatever you did, and you're going to explain it to people, and hopefully people will achieve something out of this program. And by the way, if you don't know, I am offering one PDU by joining this program. I got a approval from PMI. So after the presentation, I will share an email with the link to the webinar recording, and the presentation, and also a PDU code. All right, so just keep an eye out for my email. All right, so Britten Warner is our speaker of the day, and he's going to talk about tips for success, his experience, and I will take over a little bit, while Britt will talk a lot about his experience, and also I will talk about application and some other things you should do to make yourself ready for PGMP. And there will be some question answers. So as I said, keep writing your questions. So more questions, more discussion will be better for you. All right. So this is us, Brett and myself. He's very focused, and he's going to achieve something very soon. That's where he was about when he's starting the PGMP journey. All right, Brett, over to you.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, and welcome everybody. I'm happy to be here and able to chat with everyone and share some success stories. So I was not very long just starting my journey, where I'm imagining a lot of you are. So hopefully some of what I have here to say is going to be useful to you on your journey. And in case if I get to say so later, good luck to all of you. So a little bit about myself. There's my name, Britten Warner, obviously, and age, I'm officially old. I live here in Ohio, work for the U.S. Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, managing aerospace acquisition and support programs, primarily in foreign military sales at present, which is a challenging environment for managing programs. Certification-wise, I achieved my MBA a long time ago, PGMP, I guess a week ago. And of course, a myriad of certifications for the Air Force that are specific to what I do. So motivation for PGMP, I imagine a lot of people have some different specific motivations, but obviously the standard one is more money and a better job. That's, I think, the root of why any of us do our studies. But I'm sure everybody else has their individual one. For myself, really one of the key drivers is mobility. It's the ability to do something less specialized than what I do right now, and to be able to move into adjacent fields, which is a little bit difficult coming from aerospace DoD management. So a bit on my background, I worked 6 years in medical services contracting for the DoD, managing projects before actually jumping over the fence into being a civil servant, where I've worked the last decade in program management, managing aerospace platforms, C5s, MQ-9 Reapers, now onto the A-29 Super Tucano that I manage with the country of Lebanon, which similar to the city I live in, which gets confusing. So assumptions. This is possibly a key thing for a lot of you. I had some very incorrect assumptions going into my PGMP. I'm proud of my MBA, but I may have been a bit overly proud of my MBA. I was loudly proclaiming that with my experience and with my degree that I was going to take this exam with zero prep just to prove a point. I thought it would be easy for me, and I was so incredibly wrong. I drastically underestimated both the difficulty of the exam as well as even the entrance criteria through the application. And more importantly than that, I underestimated the value of the actual knowledge I was going to gain in the process of preparing for this. Because it, without a doubt, has actually made me a much better program manager in 2 months' time. The application process, I mentioned that one. I know Dharam is going to be talking about that a little bit more later. That is, I think, the first thing where I realized I was a bit outmatched at first, was that application process. And I'm sure some of you have probably looked at it or worked on it thus far and know exactly what I'm talking about. So with my overconfidence running into this originally back in October of 2018, I tried to take that application and fill it all out, and I spent more time on it than I thought I would, and I full up failed and couldn't get past go. So I put it aside for a bit. After the holidays, started thinking, how am I actually going to get to where I want to go on this? I really want this thing. And the more I was looking at the job market and seeing minimal employers looking for MBAs and everybody looking for PMP or PgMP, I was realizing that the value of this, I really did want it. So April 2019, I decided to take a smarter path and hire somebody to help me with this path. Bunch of research online, and I found Dharam here and his services. And that was absolutely key to my success, is the guidance that he has provided. So why this product is probably one of the key things. And there are boot camps to choose from, which are very popular in this market. Everybody has a boot camp. And then there's the mentoring service, which for me was particularly useful. But the boot camp, there's a lot of information. And as you get into this studying, and some of you I'm sure have seen this already, there is a lot of information, far more than I expected I'd be trying to cram into my head. In a boot camp, it's a short duration, and then you're on your own with studying. The mentoring, I think the additional value to me was actually guiding me through my preparation process. The hands-on working through the application, giving me the guidance and the wisdom, which at times was counterintuitive, and forcing me to keep a regimen of 6 weeks of breaking into pieces, marching along through it, and making me actually go through the paces and prioritize my actual studies. That was really the benefit I was looking for, and I think it was, I got everything I was looking for out of it. So, study approach. This was key, and I think some people will be able to do this. Some people struggle to be able to fit it into the work. It's a lot of time. I spent, you'll see this somewhere else in here, I spent 150 hours preparing for this, between studying, between reading, and between the mentoring sessions. It was 150 hours, which is a lot to fit into a full work schedule. And I work a lot of hours to begin with. So strategy I took after initially seeing the magnitude of information required for this was to free up some of that time. I took off 6 concurrent Fridays. So I had to work with my branch chief and work with my own team and figure out a strategy to be able to not be at work on Fridays. And my Fridays were dedicated to just reading SPM and doing the preparation for each of those 6 mentoring sessions. And then for the majority of a day on the weekend, it was looking through the eco, looking through the CLEAP reference guide, and doing the rest of the studying preparation for the class. My goal was to learn the material enough that when we took the class, it was reinforcing what I'd already read and learned. And I think that was fairly critical.
Yeah, so I was quite impressed by your study plan, and you managed to get a Friday off, and then Friday and Saturday dedicated just to prepare yourself for the class. That was the key. That's the good that you made that arrangement.
It took some dedication, and it was a lot to swallow at first, because I gave up all of my free time for 6 weeks. But it means I got to where I was going in 6 weeks. And that's what I was really looking for. And really, I
Actually,
think that pace of concurrent.
and good that it's finished in 6 weeks. So it's not as I've seen some people going for
Okay.
6 months and many years to go. And one thing is they wanted to do, they are putting some time, but that's not structured time, and that's where they get frustrated. I mean, I'm very happy you finish everything in the 6 weeks time, and you got your result. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I realized how much I was trying to fit into 6 weeks, I might have made it a bit easier on myself, but I think it worked out well in the end.
Yeah.
So I think one of the lessons that I learned here from enacting my plan is a difference in how I approach studying during the mentoring sessions and how I approach it for the exam itself. For the exam itself, it was a total focus. I did nothing but study, eat, sleep, study some more. There's such a wealth of knowledge in this, and so much of the interrelation of the different phases, the subphases, the activities, understanding how they all mesh together, and especially with the documentation and when that's required, having just a concentrated focus on it, I think really helped to be able to tie together all those details and having very well prepared for taking the exam itself. Possibly the most important thing was actually a tip that Dharam gave me, which is stop studying a day before the test.
That's very hard to enforce, but I've seen the results, better results, people who followed this guidance, 24-hour, no study, just relax or spend time with family or watch movie or something, but relax. No touching, don't touch the books at all. That was a good thing. Yep.
It was important. The 4-hour exam is a marathon, not a sprint. So having some rest beforehand was very necessary. I was mentally exhausted following that exam for a couple of days, to be honest. So the exam itself, and I know Dharam's probably talked much about this before, it's so different than I had anticipated. From all the standardized tests from high school through GRE, any of the tests that I took, there's some of that rote memorization stuff. Yeah, I understand what this concept is. I know what this document is. I read all that plenty of times. It wasn't like that at all. If it was like that, I probably could have taken it easier. But it challenges you to know the material very deeply. So every question is situational. It's you are a program manager in this scenario with these things going on, and you have to be able to recognize where you are in the process and what comes next and why it comes next. And even the answers you're choosing from, a lot of them require the same kind of analysis of the answer, where it's not clear until you think about it and analyze and apply the knowledge that you've just studied. A dedicated focus to this study is, I think, critical to passing that thing. I couldn't have done any less preparation and been prepared for that. So hindsight here, value of the PgMP preparation. That's, I think, really why I'm here to talk, right? As I put it there, 150 hours over 9 weeks was arduous, but really it wasn't all that bad. It's just having a dedicated regime to what you're doing. But the huge value, I think, in this, you're going to be putting a lot of time and a lot of effort into preparing for this. So preparing accurately and knowing how to focus this, where you should be putting your time into studying and how to study. I would have been upset if I spent that much time and did it wrong. So that was, I think, another one of the large values for me for having a mentor, is having the confidence that the work I was putting in was focused correctly, and maximizing the time and energy I put into it. There's a lot of opportunity cost in preparing for this. And to make it a little harder, the PMI application process, it is not clear. It isn't even sensical in some parts with how you put it together. You can tell it's evolving and has a little work to go. But Dharam was able to actually get me through that process with relative ease, so I could even get to the exam. But again, as I was mentioning before, it's that pacing for mentoring. I think that's everything. It's consistent guidance, it's preparation for what to expect, it's understanding of the knowledge, it's the ability to talk back and forth and having other students with you where you can bounce ideas off of each other and understand what's going on. But in terms of what I actually learned from this, my branch chief now in meetings, I catch her all the time, like daily, weekly, where she'll make a statement and then look at me to see if I'm agreeing with her. Because in that short amount of time, the influence of my recognition of processes, my understanding of how it should be going, elevated enough that she's looking at me as the guidance.
Next.
As a result, too, we'll see how that goes next year.
Can you see my screen?
Oh yeah, it hasn't moved for me. I'm still looking at value of PgMP. It's okay. I have a copy. Hey, there's the journey. So this is standard journey, which for those who've already been studying this looks very much like our own life cycle. So for mine, it was only slightly different than this. If you can go to the next chart, please. For mine, I started off with that achievability analysis, and I realized in looking at that I did not know the answers for everything that had to go into the program initiation and planning phase. So I didn't know what material to study. I didn't know which guides were going to be useful. I didn't know how to even complete that application. Hence, I jumped ahead to a highlighted block there of, okay, let's find a solution to fill in the missing gaps. I need a subject matter expert to be able to guide me through the next steps, which is where we signed up for the mentoring. And that allowed me to put this back on track and progress correctly. Next chart, please. I think that shows timing on it. Yeah, so there's my time journey. And for those who are looking to get to the end in a relatively short amount of time, hopefully this gives you some optimism. Where really, I mean, there was my initial failure in October in 2018, and then getting things off the ground. And 23 April is actually when I bought into the class. 29 April is when I believe we started, and I got the guide materials that Dharam put together, which were an exceptional collection of materials for the preparation. 18 May, I had my application submitted. As we went through our 6 classes, it was in the middle of our classes that I submitted the application. And as soon as I had that accepted, I signed up for a class, and within a few weeks, I was sitting down at a desk for 4 hours taking that exam. And it was a very exciting moment when the timer finally ticked down on that exam, and then very unceremoniously gives you a screen that says, "Congratulations on earning your PgMP certification."
There you go.
Which, exhausted. I expected fireworks, but they were only in my own head. But it was a happy day.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
So, and I think this is the last of my stuff here. So some comments on the material. SPM, obviously that is the center of everything for the knowledge for this exam. We read it in sections while we went through the mentoring classes, and that was huge to be able to go through them step by step because it is a dense amount of material. Every sentence in that book is meaningful. Probably the most important part of my studies was actually in the few days before the test. I went back and read that entire thing in one straight go. It took me a little over a day to do it, but really putting all of that material all together side by side without any gaps in thinking about it, I think was huge in that preparation, just to shove it all in my head at once and really understand the interrelation and see, even for things like program charter, when you'd see it referenced in multiple different chapters, to see how those different pieces were actually just all the same thing and to get that holistic understanding of it. Eco, absolutely, that's the important part from the exam, and PMI might not have these two correlated perfectly at the moment, but Dharam's class and his material puts it back together so that it all lines up correctly. So it was very useful for studying during the mentoring. To assist my studies, I literally handwrote every one of those tasks to try and cram them into my head and make them stick. I have a big whiteboard right over there where I still have 9 tasks listed up on that thing right now. And that was helpful, but memorizing the tasks, I think that analysis was much more fruitful during chapter 7 when we studied that. When you get to the life cycle tasks of the integration and planning activities, you really can see how these line up with what you're doing. Rather than just rote memorization, I could look at just the tasks that are in governance and understand why these 4 tasks align the way that they do. And there were absolutely questions on that exam where you had to know which of those four comes first. So that's a key thing to focus on. Dharam's Pathfinder, great reference, consult that often as well. But that PMP Challenger, the questions he put together were spot on representative of what you will see in that exam. The type of questions, the areas it's focusing on, that was at my actual test environment, no music or anything, practicing like the real thing, and that gave me a lot of confidence going into the exam. Okay, what's next? It hasn't moved on my screen yet. There it goes. Oh, the group. Yeah, the chat group was actually great. I didn't know what to do with it at first, but it's just, for those who haven't seen it, there's an ongoing stream of people discussing topics, posting new questions from a myriad of different sources. And I thought they were kind of bizarre at first, and I would just start looking at them. I'd be eating my breakfast, I'd look at a few questions. And before I go to bed, I'd look at a couple of questions. And really the questions I'd see where I'd say, that seems ridiculous. I don't agree with that answer. But there would be a reference to where it is in SPM, and I'd look it up, and then I would learn something. And I am pretty sure that all the questions that I found the most irritating are the ones I learned the most for, and they're always the ones that I saw in the exam. So highly suggest using those forums. It was far more helpful than I thought it would be, to be honest. Ginger Levin's book.
And that's a Telegram group is free for anyone that would like to join.
Agreed there. I'm definitely suggest Ginger Levin's book, and there's good reason, because that is a brutal wake-up call to, hey, this stuff can be really difficult. It is just that. I think I got more out of his questions. And just because there's some of the content you see in the test, there is some that comes from PMP, from PMBOK. I honestly did not use this as much, because a lot of the material that's in there, talking about your EVM, your return on investment, SWOT analysis, those kind of topics, there are fantastic resources also on YouTube that can help get you up to speed of going, you know, I haven't thought about EVM for years. Let me refresh on how I do these calculations. And I spent a lot of time refreshing that stuff while working out in the gym.
Yeah. And how many questions did you got? I think 4 or 5 questions from EVM itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are definitely 3 or 4. There are definitely 4 questions that I can think of on the top of my head that were EVM on the basic analysis. So there's a little bit of that sprinkled in. A couple of ROI questions. SWOT, there was at least one SWOT question. The fishbone diagram, that was there. There were a few sprinkled in, but most of them were fairly high level and kind of the basics on EVM, understanding SPI, CPI, etc.
Yeah. And some of the topics, some of the type of question we can easily guess, because these are based on the names, or because when you go through PMBOK, look for the tools or techniques, and especially where you see a name, a theory, or something which is stand out for you. Make sure you understand everything, and some of the key things definitely you may start with the Google, YouTubing, or something which help you. And of course, if you're part of Telegram group, you can put your thoughts or questions in that group, and you learn from that. Okay, great.
I guess one of my challenges, I never went for my PMP first, so I jumped straight into the PgMP. So some of the PMBOK stuff had me a bit nervous, but I was well prepared for it, just going through the class.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. You know, it's not good, but like you're not PMP and you directly jump into PgMP. Yeah, it's very. Many of people have done this way. So yes, knowing PMBOK is important. While you're going through PgMP study, you will also learn from PMBOK. And having PMP or not having PMP, yes, it can give you some advantage because you've seen similar exam in past, and you will be more ready. But you know, sometimes without PMP can also help you.
I think this is some of the last stuff that I actually have here to cover. The 72 eco tasks, I think I covered that a little bit. Really understanding why each task comes first rather than just rote memorization, I think is really helpful, and focus while going through. But order of actions is the most critical, but understanding why so you can recognize it in the context of the question. But those documents down there, those four are probably the most important thing to know inside and out. Knowing which one comes first and why, and what steps, what tasks preclude those, and which one of those, for instance, you need to move to the next subphase. Absolutely critical. If you don't have that understanding, then you're not ready yet.
Yeah, and some of the documents, including benefit management plan and governance plan and stakeholder engagement plan. So these other documents can be very useful to know in detail. And of course, PMP related, PMBOK related documents like risk management, procurement, all these things you probably know, or you can go back to the PMBOK and learn from that. Yeah, program charter is one of the, I'm sure, I don't know, but yeah, probably 4 or 5 questions from program charter itself. Business case is very important. All of these documents are really, really important. What comes, what are the input you need, and also the content of the document, and more important, the sequencing of the document. There can be very slight difference between two documents, and if you're not very clear, and if you're going to make a mistake, and they give you a scenario, they'll tell you that this is a document, this is the thing you're doing, and it can be very simple thing, what are you doing now, or which phase you are in. That can be a very straightforward question. But yes, knowing the in and out of these documents, which phase you are in, which domain you are in, which activity you're doing, which help you to eliminate the wrong options. Yeah. All right, next slide. So your exam experience, type of questions. There's a big lag between, I don't know why, maybe it's low network. Still don't see on the screen? It is for everyone. Can you put that in the chat? And the lag is
Problems that needed it. Other than that, you have a, oh, sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Can you not see the screen now? Exam experience, type A, type B?
Yes, I can see that now.
Yeah. So it looks like there's a network problem. So yeah, a number of people are saying.
Oh no.
Okay.
Did you want me to turn this back to you?
I mean, can you not see the screen now at this stage? Should be. No. Yep. So maybe I should start 5 minutes before you're about to go to the next slide. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, did you want me to hand this one back over to you at this point, or?
Yeah, it's a generic information saying the type of questions people like to see in exam, and it can be generic. Sometimes you see more than others. So scenario-based question, most of the question you want to see 50-60% as scenario-based question. This is where you can going to relate with your professional experience. And just make sure when you answer the question, you are not using your answering. It should be based on SPM or your ECO. Sometimes if you use your personal experience, which may not be extensive enough to answer this question, so use the SPM and ECO knowledge first, and then you will get the right answer. Type B, the artifacts related, we talked about number of document, input, output as well, 20 to 30% question. easy to address only if SPM is thoroughly. So if you know the SPM very well and PMBOK as well, it will help you to answer many of the questions. Scenario based in SPM, so it's more like a mathematical question. There are a number of questions, not too many, but some question related to like a earned value. Like to see, it can be interpretation of some numbers like a CPI, SPI, CPI 0.8, 1.2. What does that mean? So some formula, basic formula, good to know. ROI, benefit cost ratio, some of these things will definitely help. All right, so lesson learned. Can you see the screen now? Yeah, please go ahead. Lesson learned.
Yeah, I think these are spot on for all the lessons learned. So having a strategy for preparation, I think was critical for me, and I thankfully put one together here that I could follow and track along with progress. Without a plan, I think this would have taken forever. And I think if I had taken forever, that gaps between periods of study, if those went too long, I would be losing knowledge. The gap of time between actual classes and the test itself, I'm pretty sure things fell off in that small amount of time by not having that kind of focus. So I highly suggest that everybody have a plan and follow the plan.
So anything else on this screen?
I think you nailed these pretty darn well, to be honest. Keeping calm during the examination was a thing as well. Watching that timer tick down when you're staring at a question and having no idea where to go with it, that's a little bit nerve-wracking. I actually used the calculator probably about 4 times during the exam just to track how much time was expended versus how many questions I had answered, just to see where I was in my pacing. And at a few times I realized I needed to hurry up. I was slipping behind a few percent, which worked. In my exam, I finished the exam with 3 minutes left to be able to go back and review questions, which is not where I wanted to be, but better than running out of time. I certainly utilize it full time.
All right, anything else on your lesson learned? So participate in social forum will definitely help. It's not only just watching those discussion. It will be best if you can participate as well, and that will help you to analyze if you get a wrong answer, why I'm getting wrong, maybe listening or watching other people's perspective as well. Definitely can, give you thought thinking whether I'm on right direction of my thought process, or maybe helping you to analyze your answer. So challenge your answers. So of course, if you see something is not right, definitely like to know why it's not right, or why it's right as well. So come out of fear, believe in yourself, and that's very important. When you're going for a PgMP journey, you have to strongly believe in yourself that you're going to do it. This is for you, and you're going to make it happen. Of course, all these things which Brett mentioned earlier are very important. Have a plan, you have a strategy, you take time off, and dedicated time. All will help. But staying, focused, believing in yourself, all will help. Take calculated risks, ensure that your preparation is satisfactory. And also, it's not sometimes some of the questions you do, you may realize that I'm start feeling confident about it. But at the same time, if you do some of the mock exams, Ginger's question, Jean's question, I always mention about, and my question, I think these three set of questions should be good enough. Every question and type is different, and I'm expecting different result from different exam. A mock exam is just to test your how you manage your time effectively, and also how much knowledge you gain to answer such question. But the important thing is these are mock exam. It's not representation. Always representation of the real exam. Don't take it anything negative or positive about. Yes, positive, you feel comfortable. Yeah, if you're scoring Ginger's exam 80%, why not? That's a very good, you will definitely feel booster. But make sure that the exam you're doing in that 4 hour exam and all 170 questions done, just like in exam situation. You may take a break or two, but that's still, the time is still going on. Okay. All right. And staying calm during the exam, very, very important. Taking a break during around 2 hours time to see, that will help you to break the, if something is not right, that helps you to break this sequence of activity, and also help you to analyze where you are and how far you have to go. And of course, taking break, go out, freshen up, and take some oxygen. I'm not saying oxygen, just good breathing outside, and then stretching, and then it will definitely help.
That was
Then,
really helpful, actually. Yeah,
yeah,
you gave me that advice, and just having it was probably no more than about 5 or 8 minutes, but just to let my brain stop analyzing after 2.5 hours,
yeah,
it needed that. I think it brought back a lot of clarity in my reasoning.
yeah. And the last point is utilizing full time. Actually, very, very important. Mark mentioned he remained left with only 3 minutes. Even if you finish the exam, let's say 3 hour, and always go back and see, if you have marked any question, so definitely go back and fix them. And sometime you also write on the paper as well. Definitely, some of the question which you didn't, do at the time, you don't want to waste because too complex or too lengthy. So you decided to put on side, and this question you have to go back. So yeah, it's not about finishing exam faster. It's no reward for that. It's more about making sure you've done everything what you can, and you are confident to press the button, or time will finish. Other point is making sure keeping your time, eye on a time. And I've seen a couple of people, they missed out just because they were not conscious about the time. The 10 questions to go, exam finished. The problem is exam is not giving you any warning. It's just finished. Yeah, so the 10 question, and I know one person, she lost just probably by 1 mark, and she was not able to complete the exam 10. So you need to balance yourself and make sure you utilize the time as effectively. All right. So let me take you through some more points. So, this is some stats always like to see, and like to see more and more people are passing the exam, and how my numbers are good. So I'm sometimes can be greedy in terms of getting my more numbers, and that is actually benefit to you. So I'm committed to your success. Your success, my success. So some of the results you can see how is it impacting some people like Brett and other people have achieved. Many of them probably some of them here. Brett, your picture is not there. It's a little bit. Some time ago I took this picture, created this picture, but yes, you will be in the future of the slides. So let me take you through a journey. What exactly is required for you to prepare. Brett has given a very good summary, his lesson learned, and I'll just take a few minutes about addressing some question like application, how you should address the questions. Some of the generic information about your personal experience and your schooling or whatever that you can fill anyway. But the most important thing is writing about the program description, and there are 5 questions. This is where you have to explain your program management experience. So you can write, but there's a particular style PMI looking for. So it's about you, your role. You should be talking about what you did. It's not about talking about the tools you use and how you use. It's about the process you followed, who you contacted, how you created, what document you created. That kind of information will be very helpful. And avoiding any theoretical information. Sometimes people start talking, I created a benefit management plan, and the purpose of benefit management plan is blah blah blah, and this is what we do. It's more like whatever you read from SPM. So PMI is not interested to know about this. It's about how you created the benefit management plan, who contributed to that. It's about your contribution and whatever you did to achieve that result. Okay. And avoid theoretical, yeah, that's a theoretical language. Acronyms, if you have to use acronyms, make sure you define that. You never know the person on the other side is coming from a different word. Like you are in IT and the person looking your application maybe from construction, so they have no idea. So make sure your acronyms, avoid them if you can. If not, just make sure you define in the first use. And please don't use, if you have to use somebody's application, make sure it's not a copy paste. Just to know the language, the style, that's a good enough. But copy paste PMI can recognize that somebody else has done the same work, written similar same style, and they can reject the application without even telling you. And always provide at least one on example. Example will show them this is what you actually worked in that environment, that particular experience. Some of the common mistakes which we already talked about. So not understanding the exam complexity, as Brett already mentioned, he was underestimating the complexity of exam. So it is the different exam, even if you are PhD or MBA or some other high profile certification. I have never seen an exam which is more difficult than PgMP. I mean, in the program and your portfolio management, there may be some exam in the accountancy or other thing, but I don't know about. But this is one of the difficult exam. It's not about the complexity they have created, because they create by scenarios and the sequencing, and it is, if you're not clear with how the things are moving from one part to another, and if you don't understand the scenario or some of the tools technique, it can be a difficult exam for you. But most of the people who've gone through the exam and the past exam, they have not only passed exam but completed exam successfully within the time, and also with a good result. So applying PMP strategy, which earlier we talked about, not reading PMBOK. So I always encourage, especially when you're dealing with program lifecycle, the initiation, planning, execution, controlling, and closing, PMBOK is very, very important. So whatever mentioned in PMBOK can be useful. So back of the PMBOK glossary, make sure you go through that. And also the tools, techniques in many of the processes can be useful, especially some of the names or theories will be very, very helpful. Ethics, another thing you should need to know. PMI ethics, professional ethics, conduct. So it's 3-4 questions from that part you can expect there. So make sure you go through that as well. It's not a big document. It's a straightforward. Don't read too many books. There are, you're going to waste time. Especially, and look for the books which are used by most people. And also when you're picking the book, make sure it is relevant and it is based on 4th edition of PMBOK, SPM. Okay, I know some of the books are there. Some people have written book 5 years ago. They're still in the market, but they have not revised it. So just make sure. First, you can ask me that I'm interested in buying this book. Do you think I can? I should. I will give you my unbiased opinion on that. Not taking to professional assistance. One thing PMI has not done in this particular exam, this on PFMP, they have not asked any training requirement. And that is making this exam more difficult. People go there and do the exam and they realize that they should have taken some experience, like training or mentoring, which can make huge difference. It's like you can read books and watch some video about going to Mount Everest, and versus if you ask a coach or somebody who's a guide, they have done guiding many people, so they know the pitfalls and where things can go wrong. So getting guidance is a good idea. Another thing is too much dependency on memorization technique. So memorization, you should do memorization only when you understand the topic. Don't do memorization without understanding, because this is where many people fail, because they just memorize some processes, tools, techniques, and this, and they come back with a different result. Poor time management, we talked about it, and not taking rest, which I'm glad Brett accepted my guidance on that. So that do help, especially the exam is 4-hour exam, and it can be stressful time. If you're already stressed, if you didn't have enough sleep last night, and if you are going through exam, you will start feeling tired after 1 hour, 2 hour, and feeling bored, or it can be a negative result. So take this advice. At least one thing you want to get from this session is, the last 24 hour, take it easy, especially the night. Definitely no study at all. You can do some pieces, some formula, but try to keep all this thing away. Spend time. You have been away from your kids and family for last 6 or 8 weeks. This is time you can rejoin with them. Don't panic, don't lose your confidence, and keep your focus. That's the key, because a 4-hour exam, after some time, you do feel, I've experienced many times, I've done many exams. After a couple of hours, start feeling either bored and tired, sleepy. So try to avoid that. Every question is important. Make sure you take that question as the most important question, because that can be make or break question. And not taking break, 4 hour can continuous putting pressure on your brain can be difficult for you. So plan a break around 2 hours, and it will be very helpful. You should have what you should do: create a vision, and you strongly believe in it. And if you have any doubts, it will definitely not going to help you. Vision and believe it in. Have a realistic plan. Study hard and prepared. Enough rest before the exam, which I already talked about. Selecting good mentor, and preferably who is the PMI REP or belongs to PMI REP. Understand your strength and weakness. They're very, very important. You where your strengths are, where your weakness. Maybe you have to go back to PMBOK, look at some of the formulas. And also, sometimes if you are coming from non-English speaking background, reading, if you can pick up some reading speed, that can be very helpful, especially when you see the lengthy question. Idea is, when you see the lengthy question, don't spend reading and understanding the scenario. Try to scan through it and go to the question. Sometimes the question has no relationship, or you already know the answer based on your experience or learning. So you don't have to worry about going back to the scenario. So quick scenario, scan the scenario and go to the question, look at the answer. If you're not getting the answer in your first go, yeah. But
yeah, I saw that many times in the test. There were actually several questions where the initial scenario setting had nothing to do with the actual question. It was just there as a very complex scenario that just took up my time, which I didn't have a lot of. So yeah, your advice of reading the second question first and looking at the answers and then reading through the scenario was ultimately very helpful for a lot of the test.
And Ginger's question can help you to practice that kind of thing. Because Ginger question some of the questions, or many of the questions are typical of that type. So try to complete Ginger 4-hour exam in 170 question in 4 hours. Definitely will boost up your confidence. If you're scoring 60-65% in our exam and 4 hours, that's good enough for me. And if that means exam is going to be, you're not going to feel that much pressure in exam, because you're seeing much more complex exam than the real exam. So try it out. Go and fight with Muhammad Ali, and then the rest, your street fighter will be nothing for you. So that's the Ginger's exam with Muhammad Ali. Okay, and maintaining work, study, and life balance. You have to maintain your work. You have to study as well as life. Family is important, and of course some sacrifices. But making sure you don't give up too much. If you are doing exercise, or continue with that, actually that will boost your health as well as your mental strength. And understanding the task from ECO. Every task is very important. So make sure you have gone through it, understood it. It will be very, very useful. Read SPM word by word, and you may have to read many times to make sure it is making sense to you. Lots of mock exam, and don't panic. Very important, and don't keep your focus, and continue working hard. How to check your readiness? Do the mock exams in the exam-like condition, 4 hours. And use only the reported question. Don't worry too much about free exams and online exam. Some of them can be misleading. You may start scoring 95, 100%. That can actually mislead you. Your preparation may not be good enough, and you feel that, yeah, I'm okay, and that can be dangerous. Just to, in case you are interested to learn a little more from me, some of the boot camps coming up here. We'll be sharing the slide with you, so you can keep an eye on them. If you are interested in any of the program, let me know. I will be more than happy to help you with that. If you cannot attend the boot camp, so there are other ways which Brett actually joined the fast track mentoring program and a group learning environment, and very, very effective. I've seen the results many times. So that's a 6-week program. Will boost your confidence. Some people, because of time restriction, or some, they want to have flexibility, the personal mentoring program, and if none of them can work for you at financial point of, you like to study by yourself, And most important thing, if you go for a coordinated program, you have to be disciplined. Otherwise, this process, your learning can go for not just 6 weeks, it can be 6 months or maybe 1 year. So yeah, it's up to you. If you are interested in recorded, that's another option for you. What are you going to get from my program, which Brett already mentioned? Complete reference guide. That's where the value is coming to you. Or is yep, that's the one. That's perfect. Yep. So, it's everything, whatever in SPM, little bit extra, and also the the task from ECO in a more readable form. It also comes with pre-recorded 11 sessions, so to around 2 hours. My expectation when you come to the fast track program, the 2 hour, 2 videos you watch and also read or do anything related to that topic. So by the time you come to the session, you already know the topic very well. So that's where the value, Brett also find the value in the program, because you already know the topic. What are you going to do in the class? If you have any clarification and doubts, I will be clarifying them and still go through some slides and doing the 20 question, 10 from each chapter, doing 2 chapters. That will help you to understand type of question and how to pick the right answer in the short answer. All right, and 1 hour pre-exam strategy session, very, very useful. Brett didn't book it initially, but I realized that his exam in 3 days. Brett, you should have a session with me. I think that do help people is for me to understand your exam readiness, and also I will be giving some tips and hints, last minute thing, which can be very useful. Challenger, exam challenger, PgMP challenger, very useful. As Brett mentioned, some of the question or some of the real, you might see some questions in exam or maybe similar exam question. Pathfinder is a reflection of what is mentioned in ECO, but in a more readable format. The other document which I prepared and which is very useful, mapping workbook, is a note capturing, which whatever study you can capture in this document, and very useful before the exam. 2 or 3 days, just focus on this one. Other thing, application support and handbook, all this thing. I'll be helping you with getting your application and done, making sure your application passed. By the way, I've reviewed more than 750 application. All of them has gone through, so you can rest assured about that. Join the Telegram group. Joining the Telegram, I think this is very good. A lot of good people are there. They are helping each other, and I'm sure you will benefit from that. I'm starting some mentoring program. So 10th August, 18th August, 7th September. Make sure you check the time. Some of the program can be maybe middle of night. And actually, I've seen couple of people. They said, Dharam, I want to join this program 3 o'clock in the morning, and they have the option there for them to the afternoon as well. But I want to join because I have kids and I don't think I can study during that time. So it's up to you and your taste and flexibility in time. So you can join any of these programs. And there's a link. I will be sharing this presentation with you anyway. You can check that. And actually, you can book some time with me. So very simple, dharamsingh.co. So you go to the link and you can book 15-minute time. And if you need, we can have more time with you. Yes, you can see some of the smiley face there, including Brett. Yeah, perfect. Questions for let me go through the questions. We have a number of questions. Let's see. All right. So first thing, Vinod is thanking you for your services and you're congratulating for the PGMP. Thanks, Vinod.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, services in the defense, is working for defense, definitely doing great things for the country. Okay, so question from there's a question: which class did you went for, Brett? I think you.
Yeah, that was the 6-week mentoring class, which, as Dharam was talking about, I think one of the huge values in that was spreading it out for me, as well as really holding me accountable. At the end of each one of those classes, I knew we were going to be reviewing questions that were representative of the exam, and I was going to have to speak to each one of them, which meant I had to be prepared and not look silly. Um, so really, that kept me on task and helped motivate my studies a lot.
Yeah, perfect. What is the percentage for passing the PGMP? PMI never declared this. Nobody knows this, and anybody is saying is just a guess. I think my understanding is around 65 to 70% as a passing percentage. Uh, I may be absolutely wrong, but I'm just guessing here. It can be 80%, it can be 50%. No idea. You will know what you will know, whether you are, target, above target, or if you have to do the exam again, so below target or need improvement. It can be combination. It's an overall, but in the 5 domains, you may have 2 above target, one below target, or need improvement. But what they're looking for overall percentage passing. Okay, so another thing from Ro, congratulations, Brett, again for passing PGMP. It's a huge accomplishment. Thanks for sharing your tips. Okay, thanks, Ro. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to help. Thank you.
Yeah. And can you share the Telegram group? So what you're going to do, guys, you download Telegram Messenger, and you can send me message. You can see. Oh, sorry, this phone number is old now. I'm actually moved to USA, and I will also provide my phone number in my email to you, so that that number you can send an email to message me from the Telegram. So I will add you into the group. Okay, and okay, anything else? Anything else, guys? If you have any question, clarification. Yeah, so you know this, it may be hard, but it's worth it. So you will enjoy your journey. And especially after passing the exam, it's a huge achievement, and it definitely going to open number of doors for you. Whether it's job, whether they're asking for PGMP or not, doesn't matter. But if you gone up to the interview, there will be questions around what is PGMP, why you are different than PMPs. I actually got four jobs after passing my PGMP in 2010. None of them job were asking for PGMP, but happened to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes only about PGMP. Moment they start asking me about PGMP, I know this is my job. All right, okay.
If I can actually throw 2 more things out there very quickly. The SPM is actually much easier to read the second time, just for anybody that's going to have to do that. But here's one key motivation for you that kept me moving through this pace is the return on investment with this studying. If you just simply take what you expect to make extra per year for the rest of your career as a result of having that certification and divide, for me, 150 hours of prep, I was paying myself thousands and thousands of dollars an hour to prepare for this thing. That really kept me motivated and hopefully gives you a little lift during your studies.
All right, so there's another question, Brett. How many days did you took leave from your work? I think you took every Friday for 6 weeks.
Yep. 6 days. I took each Friday off for the Friday preceding Dharam's class. And that day, I just spent that day sitting on my porch, drinking whiskey and reading SPM. Not a bad way to study, but that extra time was critical. I don't think I could have put forth that many hours without it and still maintain a house.
Yeah, and if you are joining my fast track mentor program, the value for money or your time will come if you coming to the class prepared. You know the topic very well. You've done some question from Gene and Ginger or some other sources, and you know the topic very well. So then that's where you're going to gain more in the class, in the session, or from other people. And you will, when you answer the question, most of the question right, your confidence level also goes up. And that is very, very important for your exam preparation, that you feel confident and you are actually confident and you're going to get the results. All right, with this, I would like to thank all of you who joined this session. And I know some of the people are middle of night or some, early morning. But thanks for your continuous effort towards PGMP. And I'm sure this is really worth, and you're going to enjoy the journey. And I'd like to thank Brett Warner for his time and his readiness to contribute back to the community. And I'm sure many people who are going to watch the video as well. I'm going to share the video on the YouTube. I have a video YouTube channel as well. In case you're not part of that, make sure you join that. And there are previous people who've done the PGMP. You can also watch their videos as well. So Brett, thank you very much, and hope to have more contribution from you maybe not PGMP, maybe or other areas. So continue your service with the defense and Air Force, and yeah, make sure you do the good job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your help getting me there. I couldn't have gotten there without you. And good luck to everybody.
Perfect. All right, guys, thank you. And feel free to ask questions to me or Brett later on.